Today I'm going to be showing you how to make an FMV game or interactive film in Unity with zero code using the free open source Fungus plugin and absolutely zero code. So fasten your seatbelt because here we go. Let's do it.
Alright, so when it comes to writing a screenplay for an interactive film, what I like to do is, since we'll be using scenes in Unity to build the sections of the game for interactive film, I go ahead and before I even start using a traditional scene heading, I started off with the Unity scene. And then I'll go ahead and continue writing the script as usual, traditional scene heading and all that, until I get to the area where either a decision will be made or an object will be interacted with, which at that point I'll just put whatever decisions those are or put whatever objects those are that could be interacted with, and then I'll follow it with whatever scene, Unity scene, not scene heading, but whatever Unity scene that will correspond to. Alright, so now we're in Premiere. Adobe Premiere. So basically, we went ahead, we followed our screenplay, and now we got all our videos. So now we're in Premiere. We're gonna go ahead and get it ready so that we can create these assets we need to bring over into Unity to make our interactive movie. What I like to do is I'll have all, the folders organized the way I usually would with any other project that I would be editing. So you have the bin for video, I have the bin for audio, etc., etc. But if you notice, what I also have is I have a bin for each scene. Remember, that's a theme that keeps coming up. Remember, I keep talking about the scenes. And these aren't those scenes in the script. These are the Unity scenes. These are the scenes that we're going to be setting up in Unity. I'm going to edit them into separate sequences. And those sequences will be named after the Unity scene that was in the screenplay. So now we're going to go ahead and render this. And when rendering, it depends what you're going to be distributing on. If it's just for PC, then size doesn't really matter because you could have a 4, 5, 6, even 7 gigabyte game. But if you're planning to distribute on Android or WebGL, which is online, then that wouldn't be the best thing to do. But whatever gets those file size smaller. And then with codec, you want to be very careful. Do not use H.265 or Apple ProRes. You're going to have problems when you're trying to build that out to WebGL or anything like that. You want to render H.264, one of the most widely used codecs and most recognizable by most browsers. And you want to make sure that you render out at the most minimal megabytes per second that you can. Again, if this is going to be for PC or Mac, then it doesn't really matter. You could render out at 10 megs to 20 megabytes a second. I would not go past maybe 2 to 4 megabytes a second if you're planning to get this on Android or WebGL. So now let's switch over to Unity and see what's going on over there. Alright, so now on to Unity. If you don't already have it downloaded, you can download the latest version for free at unity.com. I'll post the links in the description below, so check it out. Now, assuming you already downloaded it, blah, 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 go ahead, open up Unity in the scene editor. We can go ahead and head over to the asset store. So let's click on the tab, the store tab over here. We'll go ahead and click on the button that opens up the browser. And then once inside the asset store, we're gonna go ahead and look for Fungus, the Fungus plugin. And then you're gonna go ahead and purchase it. Don't worry, it's free and open source. So go ahead, and once that's done, you're going to open it in Unity. Now back in Unity, we're going to go over to the Asset Manager, Package Manager. We're going to click on this tab, and we're going to go ahead and click over here and open up our assets. And then we're going to find Fungus, and then we're going to go ahead and download it. And of course, this is assuming you didn't already download it from before. This is assuming you already have Fungus or for whatever reason, blah, blah. Anyway, very powerful visual scripting plugin with a huge following. So now, once that's done, you can install everything. Just install everything. That's gonna go boom, boom, boom. Now once that's done, go to Tools, go to Fungus, and Now we're going to open up a new flowchart. Alright, click on flowchart, bam, we're going to pull it that there. Now that the flowchart is up, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up the template. This template is going to be what we use to build out all the other scenes and ultimately the game itself, that or interactive film, that we're going to build out onto different platforms. We're going to be doing WebGL and Android. We already have our camera set up, all right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to right click, go to UI, and we're going to create a new element, canvas. We'll click on canvas. Now that we have the canvas selected, we're going to go ahead and we're going to change some settings over here. We're going to go ahead and change the render mode to make sure it's on screen space overlay. Okay, then we're going to go down to canvas scaler, and we're going to change UI scale mode to scale with screen size. We're going to set reference resolution to 1920 by 1080. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure that screen match mode is set to match width or height. And then we're pretty much done with that. Then we're going to go ahead and go back to the UI elements, right click, head to UI, objects, and then we're going to go ahead and select a panel. And we're going to make sure that panel is parented to the canvas, and make sure it's under the canvas. And then once that's done, we can uncheck the image because that doesn't matter. And then over that, we're going to go ahead and set up a raw image. Now we can go ahead and readjust the main camera and match the main camera to the dimensions of the canvas in the panel. Right click, go back to UI and select, and let's create a raw image object. And we're going to go ahead and again put that under the canvas, just like that. We're then going to click on add component, and under component we're going to go down to video and add a video player. Click on that and go ahead and we're going to add that video player. Now, as I said before, I'm going to be using video files that I'm already hosting on my own server through my own website. So I'm going to be using links. I'm not going to be using video clip, but you can use video clips and just import the files if that's what you want. Now, I'm not going to have the video loop, so I'm not going to check that. And for render mode, I'm going to have it on render texture and then target texture. But the problem is now we have to create a texture. So we're going to click on create, and then we're going to go down to render texture and click on that. Now we're going to go over to the size, and we're going to change those to match the dimensions that our panel and raw image are at, which is 1920 by 1080. And then you can either choose to use or not use anti-aliasing. You can also choose to use dynamic scaling. Now we're going to go ahead and in the raw image section, we're going to set the texture to the texture that we just created. So don't forget what you named it. And now we're going to go down to the video player and set the target texture to the same. So just as you see here, we go through the cPanel, and through the cPanel, I'm able to access my web FTP, but whatever gives you access to those files and folders inside your website on your cPanel, that's what you'll navigate towards. And once you bring up those folders, we can go ahead and create another folder just for our project, and then we will create another folder within that folder, and that will be called videos. And then within that folder we will upload all the videos that we plan to use in our FMV game or interactive film. Now, one problem you might run into is that if you try to download too many files at once, you will wind up, I don't know, it depends on your plan, but on my plan, it winds up exceeding the FTP limit. So I usually go with one file at a time, or you're gonna get that error like you saw here. So now I'm going to go ahead and instead of importing a video file and directing the video clip source to that file, I'm going to go ahead and select for source, right, URL, and then I'm going to go ahead and where it says video clip, I'm going to go and paste the address, the web address, to the video that's being hosted on my server. Again, you don't have to use that method. You can just import the video file into a folder or whatever in your assets folder, and you can just for source select video file and then go ahead and select that video asset, and it'll use that as the source for the video player. So it's up to you. And now you'll see when we run it, our video works, everything plays and looks great. Now, one thing to mention is that to make this responsive, just click on the tab with the resolution, and I already made, you'll see the mine is responsive, and that's because where you see the plus symbol, you can add a new aspect ratio. All right, so as you can see here, no matter what we pick, it's fully responsive to any resolution that it's displayed through. So it'll adapt. We have adaptive resolution, noCOde. So you see that? It shrinks around, moves around, and we've got no problemos. Look at that, boom, fully adaptive. And again, just click on the plus sign at the bottom of there, click on the plus sign, and set it to aspect ratio. And then just make it 1920 by 1080. You'll see that's what I have it up there is responsive. You can label it whatever you want. So now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna right click, and then I'm going to go under create, and then I'm gonna go and create a new scene. And I'm gonna name that scene loop 1, because that's what one of the options is gonna correspond to. And this is just to show you how you can set that up. And again, that way you can use this, just copy and paste. This is pretty much your template for the rest of the process. You know what, I've actually changed my mind, and I went ahead and just built out the entire game. Well, I didn't build it yet, but I laid out the video files and the scenes. So now we have credits, loop 1, loop 2-1, loop 2, loop 3, loop 4, scene 1, scene 2, scene 4, scene 6, scene 5, scene 6, and scene 7. So, and that's pretty much all the video files that we're going to use, the scenes that we're going to use for the game. Now we're going to stitch them together, and I'm going to show real quick how we can create some of these options in the flowchart using visual scripting. So right here you see that we have two options. We have make a cup of joe or eat some mother fudging peanut butter. And based on what we decide there, we'll of course connect this to that corresponding scene that will execute upon that decision. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead to the hierarchy window, right click, and under UI we're going to go ahead and create a button, a UI button. Make sure that's parented to the canvas, and then once that's done, we're going to go ahead and we can adjust it. But before we do that, let's go over to image and uncheck that, because we don't need the image. We can uncheck that. So we'll uncheck that, and then we're going to go ahead and click under the button. You'll see that there's a tab, and we can actually lower that. There's something beneath the button, and that's text. Click on text, and we're going to go ahead and erase the text. That's all we have to do. Delete the text, and then we can go back and adjust the button. Now we'll just go ahead and do that again for the second button, and same steps, blah blah. We're going to zip through that, and then once we have both buttons in place, right, those are hot spots, so we can click there or click there, and that's going to determine what happens. Then we can go ahead back down to the flowchart over there, and we're going to right click, and we're going to create a button, another button in there, and then we're going to right click again, because that's So that button is going to represent one of the choices. We're going to make another button represent another choice, but in this button you're going to click on it, and we'll go ahead and change the name. We're going to scroll down there to UI, button clicked. Target button, we're going to go ahead and select the Make a Cup of Joe button that we were using earlier. And then we're going to go down to the plus symbol over here. We're going to scroll down. We're going to scroll down to flow. And under flow, we're going to pick load scene. And of course, the scene that we're going to load will be scene 2, because that is what happens if we decide to make a cup of Joe. It's going to go to scene 2. And then of course we're going to go ahead and make that second button, and that's going to be for the eat some peanut butter. And again, we're going to just match the name of the button to the block. And same procedure as the other one. We're going to set it to UI, button clicked, and then set the button to the same corresponding button, and then plus, and then flow, load scene, and then we're going to load that scene. And that's what's going to happen when somebody clicks that hotspot. And now for the main game starting block, I'm going to go ahead and make it wait. That's right, you want to do that for each scene that you're working in, for each video. You want to make sure that you start it off first and foremost with a wait command. Go to flow, and in flow on the list select wait, and then wait, we're going to go ahead and look at how much time that video is. And under the wait, I will go ahead and put it for that many seconds. So how many minutes, just break it down to seconds, and you'd put that in. This is 1 minute and 29 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down, 88 seconds. And then I'm going to go ahead after that, and it'll load the loop 1. So basically, if they don't make a decision at all, then it'll go on to loop 1. And loop 1 is basically just an extended version of that one frame where they can continue looping into itself, and they could sit there for half an hour and it'll just stay just like that, me moving around. And those two options until they finally do make a decision, and then it'll activate either of those two buttons that we set up just now. So that's you're going to do that for each scene. In each scene, in that game starter block, you're going to go ahead and first set it to wait, and you want it to wait for the amount of seconds that video is, and then after that you can have it automatically load to whatever loop you decide to set up for it. Unless you want it just to just default, then you can set up a default and it'll just automatically load on that path. No decision is made. Now be sure to make sure you add your scenes to the build. Just go ahead and click on File and then click on Build Settings, and right when that window pops up, just make sure up there in the top here that you drag in or add all the scenes and make sure they're all included in there, or else the build won't recognize them and it won't flow. And now I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward through some of the other scenes so that way you can get a quick glimpse of how I set those up. If you want to see it in a little more detail what I'm doing, you can just go ahead and slow down the video, and you'll be able to see exactly what I did. But to save time on the video so it's not 10 cajillion years, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this process. For enable exceptions, I put none. For WebAssembly arithmetic exceptions, again I put on a compression format, none. I've learned from experience that WebGL can be very picky, so just to be on the safe side to make sure that it runs as smooth as it can, I go ahead and I just disable all that. Data caching, I just uncheck that, and I just make sure I kind of eliminate any form of compression at all. And so here is the, I went ahead and rendered it out for WebGL, and I went ahead and uploaded that to the folder I created for it on my website through my server, through the FTP. And so here is the uploaded, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little playthrough, and just to show you what the final product will look like, or could look like, or hey, it's up to your imagination, right? These are the basic tools now to go ahead and build whatever you can imagine. I need a break. What should I pick? Yeah, that's it. I'll have some coffee. Anytime now, I really want to get that coffee. Oh man, what's going on with this coffee? What? This coffee expired 5 years ago. Oh man, this is it. I see the light. Alright, I'll get something from the cabinet. Nah, that's not quite what I want. Nah, that's not quite what I want. Yeah, that's the ticket. I'll have some peanut butter.
This is KTUBX Radio, and here is your chance to win big. For $10,000. What hangs out with a Joey while hopping around the outback?
Oh man, I know this!
I'm sorry, that was not the right answer.
Oh no! I lost! Oh man, I could have had 10 grand!